Governor Ron DeSantis announces 20 people violating election laws. Oh my God.
Governor Ron DeSantis in South Florida this afternoon to announce that 20 people have been arrested for alleged voter fraud in the 2020 elections. DeSantis said his team worked with local law enforcement to find the fraud and make sure that correct vote counts happen in elections. The governor's office did not release the names or mugshots of those arrested, saying he could not release them because of the investigation. But he did say the people arrested are convicted felons from across Florida, including Broward and Miami-Dade. People convicted of sexual assault and murders under current law cannot get their right to vote restored.
We did do a good job, but the way I was raised and the way I've always been is, you don't just sit back and kick your feet up and rest on your laurels. Did we do 100%? You never reach perfection, but we're going to try to get there. So we knew we had more work to do.
One question that came up was, why did it take this long? The governor said the election security team had just been set up July 1st. We'll have more on potential additional arrests in the next hour.
See, now, the funny thing is that these people think that they are allowed to vote over again after they done had a felony. I got a felony. When they told me I couldn't vote no more, I accepted it. Hey, I ain't really give two shits about voting anyway. I don't feel like my voice heard. Maybe some people do feel like that. For those that do feel like it, hey, keep voting. But me, nah, no way. I don't see myself doing it.
New at 5, a man arrested for a possible election crime tells News 6 he's being used as a political pawn.
He was one of 20 people state agents arrested last week, now facing charges for illegally voting in the 2020 election. It was the first public outcome of the state's newly formed Office of Election Crimes and Security. Investigator Lewis Bolden is in studio tonight. And Lewis, he says he's innocent in all of this.
He does, Lisa. Peter Washington pled no contest to a felony offense in 1996 and served 10 years in prison. He says for the last 12 years, he has turned his life around, held down a job, and started a family. He says a series of events, though, led him to believe he was eligible to vote after Amendment 4 passed.
I'm angry, but I'm hurt.
59-year-old Peter Washington was among the 20 people arrested across the state last week for allegedly illegally voting in the 2020 election. Governor Ron DeSantis announcing the arrests at a press conference.
They are disqualified from voting because they've been convicted of either murder or sexual assault, and they do not have the right to vote.
Washington says he thought his rights had been restored. Did you intentionally cast an illegal ballot?
No.
In 1996, Washington pled no contest to attempted sexual battery and was given probation. But he kept violating probation by not registering properly with the state, according to the probable cause affidavit and state records. Because of the violation, in 2001, he served nearly 10 years in prison and was released in November of 2010. Since then, he says he has tried to be a model citizen by starting his own business and starting a family.
I'm just trying to live and be successful.
In 2018, Florida voters passed Amendment 4 to automatically restore the right to vote for people with prior felony convictions upon completion of their sentences, except those convicted of murder or a felony sexual offense. Under the law, felons are not allowed to sit on juries, but according to the probable cause affidavit, Washington received jury summons on 3 separate occasions, which he reported for.
That what made me think that I was eligible to vote, or my rights were reinstated. Because you know you can't be on a jury duty unless your rights are being reinstated.
Urged by his wife, Washington says in 2019, he filled out a Florida voter application, and according to the affidavit, Washington received a voter information card with a voter ID. He says he went to the polls with his wife in person and asked questions.
Me and my wife asked. We showed them the ID, we showed them the voter card, and we said, is this valid? They said, yeah. And that's the only reason I walked in there and voted.
Why was he issued a voter ID? Orange County Supervisor of Elections Bill Cowles released a statement reading, "If we do not receive a packet from the state, we remain unaware of the individual's conviction." After the arrest, Senator Jeff Brandes, who authored Amendment 4, tweeted video of the governor's press conference, writing, "It was our intent that those ineligible would be granted some grace by the state if they registered without intent to commit fraud." Washington says the worst part has been unintentionally hurting his wife.
I don't even want to talk about it. It hurts. It hurts. I tried to be strong for her, but it hurts.
Now remember, 20 people were arrested for the same thing. We tracked down another person, also from Central Florida. She also tells News 6 she legitimately thought she was eligible to vote. We will have her story coming up at 6 o'clock.
Very interesting to hear from him and hear his side of the story and all of this. Now, Louis, according to the Supervisor of Elections statement, it sounds like the state might have dropped the ball in this. I mean, they're the ones who are supposed to check to make sure people are actually eligible when they register to vote.
It certainly seems like there is a breakdown in communication among government agencies, because if convicted felons are not supposed to serve on juries, why are you sending them jury summons? If they're not supposed to, if they haven't had their rights restored and they're not supposed to vote, why are you allowing them to register to vote and then sending them a voter registration card? And unfortunately, people are being arrested because of this.
Well, it raises a lot of questions, because even, residency questions and people who are registering to vote, I mean, someone should be checking, right, to make sure that people are indeed eligible to vote.
And we are going to continue to dig to see where the breakdowns are.
Yeah, and if you go to the election office and say, "Is it okay if I vote?" and they tell you yes.
What do you?
Right.
You vote.
You would think so. All right, Louis Bolden, I'm interested to see your next report, too. Here on News 6, we've also reported on 4 people from the villages charged with voter fraud in the 2020 election. 3 admitted to the crime and have entered a pretrial intervention program to avoid prison time, while the 4th is awaiting trial. They were not mentioned during the governor's press conference last week. We've posted more details on this story at clickorlando.com. 6 has tracked down another person who says she thought she was eligible to vote, but later she was arrested.
She was among 20 people state agents arrested last week, now facing charges for illegally voting in the 2020 election. It was the first public outcome of the state's newly formed Office of Election Crimes and Security. News 6 investigator Louis Bolden joins us now in studio. And Louis, this woman says she has been trying to turn her life around.
She does. Michelle Stribling admits she was convicted of a serious crime. She served her time, and for 18 years, she has not been in trouble with the law until she was arrested last week for allegedly casting an illegal ballot.
This is a misunderstanding. I didn't mean no harm about this.
52-year-old Michelle Stribling was one of 20 people arrested statewide for allegedly illegally voting in the 2020 election. But she is the second person to tell News 6 she legitimately thought she was eligible to vote.
This don't make no sense at all. A person trying to do right by the law, and they still get messed up and go to the jailhouse.
Before I proposed this, and this was my idea,
Governor Ron DeSantis announcing the arrest last week to show his new election security office, assembled in July, is paying off.
they are disqualified from voting because they've been convicted of either murder or sexual assault.
Stribling was convicted of second-degree murder in 1993 and served 11 years in prison. In 2018, Florida voters passed Amendment 4 to automatically restore the right to vote for people with prior felony convictions after completing their sentences, except those convicted of murder or a felony sexual offense.
I'm doing the right thing. I stay out of trouble. I do right by the law. I don't get in trouble no more. All that.
Stribling says she cannot read or write and register to vote at church. According to Stribling's probable cause affidavit, she asked for assistance completing the application, and the individual would not assist her.
I just marked whatever I marked on the paper.
Stribling checked the box saying she is not a convicted felon, but says she didn't actually know what it said. She told detectives she thought her rights were restored when she later received a voter registration card.
Now all of a sudden y'all say I can't vote. That don't make no sense. evidence.
Why was she issued a voter registration card? Orange County Supervisor of Elections Bill Cowles released a statement after the arrest reading, "Once a new or current registered voter is identified with a criminal record, the Florida Division of Elections prepares a packet with the individual's documentations for the appropriate Supervisor of Elections. If we do not receive a packet from the state, we remain unaware of the individual's conviction."
When you know you're trying to do good by the law and by God's law, and here comes the devil comes and try to mess you up.
After the arrest, Senator Jeff Brandes, who authored Amendment 4, tweeted video of the governor's press conference writing, "It was our intent that those ineligible would be granted some grace by the state if they registered without intent to commit fraud." And then he put hashtag intention matters.
Hopefully they put some good laws together to get this voting shit cleared out. I think people should be able to vote if they got the right to do it. And if you got your rights restored, shit, you should be able to vote too. It's just plain and simple, man. Now, big story. 85 arrested in international drug ring operating in Polk County.
This investigation stretched across international borders, and tonight ABC Action News reporter Rebecca Petit with what we're now learning.
The Polk County Sheriff's Office working with local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to dismantle an international drug smuggling ring operating out of Winter Haven. Suitcases full to the brim with meth made their way through U.S. airports, where Polk County would be their final destination.
They didn't so much as throw a pair of underwear in the suitcase to act like they were hiding the drugs.
An investigation began in 2020 when detectives executed a search warrant in Winter Haven.
We received information that the Jefferson family from Winter Haven was smuggling large amounts of drugs into Florida.
Detectives learned that meth was being trafficked from Mexico to California, then to Central Florida in checked luggage on domestic flights.
They would have what they call ghost tickets. They would get a ticket to travel, check their bag, and never get on the airplane. And the suitcase would fly by itself.
In February, an undercover wiretap investigation began. This massive multi-agency investigation resulted in 85 suspects being arrested and charged.
So you have to exhaust other investigative methods before you go to a wiretap. So this organization could not have been dismantled absent this operation with this wiretap.
Authorities seized thousands of dollars in cash, firearms, 268 pounds of meth, and 6.8 ounces of fentanyl.
According to our DEA partners, 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be a deadly overdose. Okay, Grady, so what does all that mean? It means that 6.8 ounces of fentanyl could have killed up to 96,000 people.
This investigation is still ongoing. There are 3 suspects out of state that are still at large.
Thank you for watching. And if you don't mind, like, subscribe, share, do all of the above, man. It's your boy Terence Clay. This has been ClayEnterprise Newsletter Podcast Show, Episode 1. Very corny, but I gotta do something, you heard me? Peace.